Hello, darling. Welcome back to the Bold, Fierce, Unstoppable podcast. I'm your host, Zach Lyotis. Before we get into today's episode, I want you to think about the last time you woke up already behind schedule. Alarm didn't go off when it should have. Phone was in your hand before your feet even hit the floor. You were answering texts, checking the group chat, scrolling past people's vacations photos, all before you even said good morning to God. If that's your most mornings, you are not alone and you are definitely not broken. The system's trying to get to you, but it's okay. We'll talk about that later. I need to tell you something today that I believe is going to shift the way you start every single day for the rest of your life. There is one habit, one simple, unglamorous, doesn't require a Pinterest board habit that changes everything. Not because it's magic, because of who it connects you to before the world gets a chance to. Today we're talking about the morning habit that changes everything. So grab your coffee, grab your journal, and let's get down and dirty into it. So why mornings matter? And here's what I know from myself and the woman I've guided for years now. The woman who wins her morning almost always wins her day. Not because mornings are magic. Well, they kind of are because you're alive. Because mornings are the one part of the day that hasn't been touched yet by anybody else's demands. Think about it. By 9 a.m., most of us have already given pieces of ourselves away to the kids, spouse, our job, our inbox, the group chat, social media, the noise out in the world. Everybody gets a piece before you've even decided who you're going to be that day. That's the trap I talk about all the time in this community. People pleasing isn't just a personality trait, girlfriend. It's a scheduling problem. Yeah, it is. If you don't claim your morning, the world claims it for you. And this was a hard pill to swallow for me. And then you spend the rest of your day reacting instead of leading. In confusion and just combobulation is happening. So when you say there's a morning habit that changes everything, I'm not talking about a 5 a.m. cold plunge, a 10-page journal kombucha drinking routine you saw on Instagram that everyone's doing. Follow the trend. I'm talking about so much simpler and so much older. It's a habit Jesus modeled himself thousands of years before anyone had a morning routine to sell. Now, let's look at what I'm talking about. So the example of Jesus that we want to talk about is actually written in Mark 1:3-5, and it says, very early in the morning, while it was still dark, Jesus got up, left the house, and went off to a solitary place where he prayed. Girlfriend, sit with that for a second. This is Jesus, fully God, the one who spoke galaxies into existence, the one who didn't need anything from anybody. Nope. And what does he do before the sun is even up? He gets up, he leaves, he finds a quiet place, and he prays. If the Son of God needed to start his day connected to the Father, before he gave anything away to the crowds, the disciples, the demands of ministry, what makes us think we could skip it? Yep, I don't know what does. Here's what I want you to notice. That wasn't after a hard day. This wasn't Jesus recovering from burnout. Look at the verse right before Mark 1:32-34. The whole town had gathered at the door at night before. People were healed. Demons were casted out. It was chaos. It was ministry. It was all the demands. And his response wasn't to sleep in and to recover. It was to get up while it was still dark and go be with his Father first. Yep, go be with his Father first. That's the pattern. Not pray when you have time, not pray when it's convenient, not pray when you're suffering and in pain, but pray first before the phone, before the to-do list, before the family demands and needs you and the job needs you and the group chats start ringing off the kilter. Here's a thing I want to say gently but clearly, and I wish I knew how to be gentle, but I don't. Because I know some of you are already feeling that little twist of guilt. This is not about earning God's love, but getting up early enough. You cannot outperform grace. This is not a productivity hack dressed up in a Bible verse. This is about positioning yourself. When you go to the Father first, you are telling your own soul, before anybody else gets to say, I already know who I belong to today. Yes. The change is how you carry everything else that comes after that. I remember a season in my life, and some of you have heard bits of this before, where my mornings were pure chaos. Phone first, worry first, what am I going to feed people? Everyone's needs come first. And I was exhausted, burnt out, not from doing too much, but from starting every day already depleted, already reacting, already people-pleasing before 7 a.m. I'm just exhausted saying that. The shift didn't happen because I added 45 minutes of a quiet time perfectly executed. It happened because I decided, even imperfectly, even sleepy, even some days for just 5 minutes, God gets the first conversation. Not the last one squeezed in before bed when I'm too tired to focus. The first one. Good morning, God. Thank you for this day and this opportunity to do it differently than yesterday. Guide my feet, open my eyes, and put the words in my mouth to speak. That's the habit, simple as that. Before the world gets your attention, or before the world even got my attention, my Father gets it first. Because I know my Father will always be there for me when everyone else leaves me. So let's go into some new mercies. Now let's go somewhere that I think is going to minister to you deeply today. Especially if you've been carrying yesterday into today. Lamentations 3:22-23 says, because of the Lord's great love, we are not consumed, for his compassions never fail. They are new every morning. Great is your faithfulness. Girlfriend, I want you to notice the context of that verse because it makes it hit even harder. Lamentations is not a book about a good season. It's literally the prophet Jeremiah grieving the destruction of Jerusalem. This is written in the middle of loss, devastation, and heartbreak. And in the middle of all of that pain, he stops and says, his compassions never fail. They are new every morning. If Jeremiah could find new mercy in the middle of the worst season of his life, you could find new mercy this morning, no matter what yesterday looked like and what tomorrow's going to promise. Here's why this matters so much for the morning. Habits you've been talking about. So many of us wake up and immediately pick back up yesterday's failures or yesterday's arguments or yesterday's overeating, overspending, overcommitting, over-apologizing, over this and over that and this and that. And we wake up and put yesterday's guilt and exhaustion on a row before we've even brushed our teeth. That sound familiar? But this verse says God's mercies are not recycled from yesterday. They are new. That means this morning, whatever you carried yesterday, the guilt, the way you snapped at your husband, your kids, your boss, your coworkers, the way you said yes again when you meant to say no, the way you scolded into prayer, None of that determines what mercy is available to you today. This is why morning habit matters so much. If your first act of the day is checking your phone, you are letting yesterday's noise and today's demands set the tone. But if your first act of the day is receiving, just receiving the truth that his mercies are new this morning, you are starting from a completely different foundation. Not the foundation of, I have to make up for yesterday. No, you don't. The foundation of today is new because he is faithful. Not because I earned a fresh start, because he is faithful. I want you to try something this week. Before you check your phone, before your feet even hit the floor, if you can manage it, just say it out loud. Thank you, God, for this day. That's it. Let that be the first sentence of your day, not the group chat, not the inbox, not the anxious thought that's been waiting for you to wake up so that it can pounce. None of that. Thank you, God, for this day. Simple, clean, and easy. So let's look at one more. And I think this one ties it all together. Psalm 5:3. In the morning, Lord, you hear my voice. In the morning, I lay my request before you and wait expectantly. Two things I want to pull out of this verse. First, David says in the morning twice. He's not being repetitive by accident. He's emphasizing that morning is his appointed time. That wasn't whenever I get around to it prayer life. This was a set time, a set posture, a habit he was building on purpose. Second, and this is the part I really want you to catch, he doesn't just say he prays in the morning. He says he waits expectantly. The word matters so much. Expectant means you're not just going through the motions. You're not just checking a box called quiet time, so you could feel spiritual before your day starts. You're actually waiting to see what God is going to do. You're expecting something. You're approaching your day with something good is coming because you just laid your request before the one who actually has the power to move. Oh, how life changes when your morning changes. This is the difference between a morning routine and a morning habit that changes everything. A routine is just something you do. A habit rooted in expectancy is something you do because you actually believe God is going to show up in your day. Think about how different your Tuesday looks when you walk into it believing God already heard you this morning versus walking into your Tuesday just hoping you survive another Tuesday. That's what this habit does. It's not about controlling your day. It's about handing your day to someone who already sees the whole thing and then walking into it expecting him to move the mountains you need moved in order to achieve the things that you need to achieve in your day with grace, mercy, clarity, understanding, and most importantly, peace. Okay, so let's get really practical now because I know some of you are already thinking, this sounds beautiful and fluffy, but my mornings are chaos. I've got kids, I've got a job, I've got a body that doesn't wake up early anymore, no matter how hard I try. Love your excuses, but toss them out the window. Here's what I want you to hear. This is not about a perfect 5 a.m. routine. This is about a posture, not a performance. So here's how you actually start. Number one, protect 60 seconds before your phone. That's it. Before you check a signal notification, say one sentence to God. Good morning, Lord. Your mercies are new today. That's the whole habit in its smallest form. 60 seconds. Anybody can do it. 60 seconds. No excuses. No excuses. Number two, pick one verse and let it be your anchor for the week. You don't need a new devotional plan for 14 steps. Pick one of the 3 verses we talked about today. Write it on a sticky note. Put it on a mirror, your coffee maker, your phone lock screen, in your journal. I don't know, write it in your hand, on your forehead, whatever it is. Let it be the first thing your eyes land on. Number 3, bring your actual request, not just polished church lady prayers. Psalm 5:3 says, David laid his request before God, not his best behavior, his actual needs. So tell God about the meeting you're dreading, the kids you're struggling, the marriage that feels distant, the body that doesn't feel like yours anymore. Bring the real thing to the Father. That's what expected waiting is built on. Number 4, expect something even on ordinary days. You don't need a burning bush every morning. That's Moses' thing. Sometimes the answers to expectant prayer is just a piece that gets you through a hard meeting, or the patience you didn't have yesterday, or a text from a friend at exactly the right moment. Start noticing those as answers, not coincidences. And sis, give yourself grace in the morning you miss it. This is not about a streak. It's not about a perfect record. Some mornings you will oversleep, or the kids will wake up at 5 a.m., or life will throw you a curveball. That's not failure. Remember, his mercies are new every morning, which means tomorrow you get to start again. No guilt required. Here's what I want to leave with you. The morning habit that changed everything isn't a productivity hack. It's not about becoming a morning person. It's not about deciding before the world gets a single piece of you that you belong to God first. Jesus modeled it in Mark 1:3-5. He went to the Father before the crowds got him. Jeremiah reminded us in Lamentations 3:22-23. Mercy is new, not recycled from yesterday. David showed us in Psalm 5:3. Mornings are for laying our requests down and waiting expectantly for God to move. If this episode stirred something inside of you today, I want to invite you into something. If you're ready to stop people-pleasing your way through your days and start building a life rooted in your God-given identity, come join us inside the bold, fierce, unstoppable community. This is a community for women who are done shrinking and ready to rise into who God actually created them to be. And if you want a simple next step for your morning's request, dip below and I'll send you our free 7-day morning ritual to help you put everything we talked about into practice. Your mornings are about to look different, not because you added more to your plate, but because you gave the first part of your day to the one who's had it all along. I'll see you next time. Until then, be bold, be fierce, and with God, you are unstoppable. Bye for now.